Welcome in this video of the House of Asian Cinema. From Die Hard to Police Story, from Terminator 2 to The Killer, everybody has his own opinion on which is the greatest action film ever made. But the list of challengers is more or less agreed. Still, there is one film which deserves to be on it and could even reach the very top, but which simple existence is mostly unknown. This film is Mirage. To understand where Mirage comes from, we have to go back in time in the early age of Chinese cinema. During that time period, swordsman films, known locally as the wuxiapian, and later on kung fu films, were produced almost industrially. When Mao took over in 1949, this production came abruptly to a halt. The new authorities considered this type of films were promoting superstitions and outdated traditions which the new ideology was fighting against. Thus, in terms of action, only war films were produced, especially the ones dealing with the war against Japan or the civil war against the Kuomintang. Martial arts films found a shelter in the Chinese territories outside the sphere of influence of the Popular Republic that were Taiwan and Hong Kong. After the repeated disasters of the Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution, and following Mao's death, Deng Xiaoping, who took over, chose to drastically change the direction of the country. He introduced a dose of capitalism and started partially modernizing and opening up the country. This opening policy had a direct impact on the film industry, and the idea to bring back the martial heritage on the big screen quickly made its way in the executive's mind. But the long period without any martial art film being produced had left some deep marks, and the Popular Republic had basically lost its know-it-all when it came to this genre. Consequently, the first of such films being produced, Shaolin Temple, faced a lot of hurdles. To lead the project to completion, the mainland authorities had to request the assistance from Hong Kong, through the Cine Metropole, the only leftist film studio still active in the British colony. Thanks to the reinforcement of director Chung Sing-Yim and his team, Shaolin Temple ended up being an international success and made a star out of a young wushu champion named Jet Li. The viability of such production strategy having been proven, the Popular Republic doubled down. But Pride's Deadly Fury, the first martial art film made in China without Hong Kong's help since the new policy, didn't manage to make the same kind of impact. These two first attempts highlight the kind of difficulty the filmmakers had to face to bring back martial art film to its former glory. If there is no denying the beauty of the landscape and the talents put in front of the camera, the lack of technical and choreographic expertise is painfully obvious. Aware of these deficiencies, the officials in charge tried to correct these problems by attracting Hong Kong directors and action directors to work in the motherland. For them, it could be an attractive opportunity. Working in the mainland meant having access to its vast resources, ideal to make ambitious projects come to life. But working there also meant the high risk of offending the Taiwanese government and being banned from its market, a market which was back then crucial for Hong Kong production. No surprise then that only a few directors dared to cross over. Amongst them, Li Anxiang, the revered Shaw Brothers director specialized in palace intrigues and erotic comedies, then at the end of his career. But he kept working in his genre of predilection, not action. Still, another talented director, this one specialized in action, also embraced the opportunity. His name is Tsui Siu-Ming. Raised in a Cantonese opera family, Tsui Siu-Ming quickly joined the Hong Kong film industry, becoming one of those child stars which the local melodrama loved, as had been the case previously with Bruce Lee. His expertise in martial arts logically led him to work on the action choreography for cinema and TV. In 1980, he directed his first film, The Buddhist Fist, alongside another talented choreographer who was making a case for himself in the industry, Robe. But if the film is a decent kung fu comedy, it had difficulty to distinguish itself from the competition. Still, he managed to catch the attention of the Shaw brothers, then looking desperately for new blood. For the studio, he directed Gangmaster, a kung fu film in the same vein as the many Gulong adaptations Chow Yun was mass directing back then. He also found some success on TV, directed The Legendary Fok, one of the first Hong Kong TV series to be aired in mainland China. Probably because he was having difficulty to make his mark compared to the other action directors, and attracted by the opportunities offered by shooting in mainland China, Tsui Siu-Ming made his move in 1984. He directed one of the best copies of Shaolin Temple, Holy Robe of the Shaolin Temple. In this film, Manchu and Shaolin monks fight each other for the possession of a precious Buddhist relic. Shot during a 6-month span between Inner Mongolia, the real Shaolin Temple, and Fujian, the film manages to convey a sense of epic and reveals the charisma of the young Yu Wangguang. Unfortunately, a mundane script and the technical limitations linked to shooting in mainland China back then prevented the film to reach its full potential. It is with his second film shot in mainland China that Tsui Siu-Ming would be able to show the full extent of his talent. He gets rid of the cumbersome influence of the Shaolin Temple to propose an epic-scale adventure film, a genre in which he can give the best of himself and sign his masterpiece. Mirage tells the story of Tong, a photojournalist and adventurer who follows a convoy on the Silk Road. When it is attacked by a band of former White Russians turned bandits, Tong and the convoy members manage to repel the assault. But after the struggle, Tong has a vision of a beautiful young woman of who he manages to take a picture. Obsessed by this image, he starts a journey to find her with his loyal friend, Mao. Shot in Inner Mongolia and Xinjiang, Mirage has an impressive epic feel. Tsui Siu-Ming is always on the lookout for the most impressive shot possible, using wide track shots to highlight the magnificent Chinese landscapes, from Xinjiang's desert to the never-ending plains of Inner Mongolia. By doing so, he walks in the footsteps of other prestigious directors specialized in this kind of old-school epic movie, such as Cecil B. DeMille or David Lean. There is also a bit of Soviet Eastern, the USSR version of the American Western, in Mirage, with a similar mood as in White Sun of the Desert of Vladimir Motil. High-quality, old-school adventure the way we like it. Mirage's story is fairly predictable, but its progression is rich enough in exciting events and handled with the required rhythm for the audience not to feel bored at any point. Of course, being a mainland film, there are some clear propaganda elements present. Some of them seem fairly outdated today. That's the case of the anti-Russian message, legacy of the Sino-Soviet split made obsolete 4 years later with the fall of the USSR. Some are still relevant today though, or gained even more relevance in the current political climate. That's the case of the effort displayed in showing a diverse and harmonious China when we know how the minorities, Uyghur and Mongolians, have been treated so far by the Chinese government. As for the characters, if they are not very developed psychologically, they are still enough expressive and relatable for us to care about them. But of course, what makes Mirage so memorable are its action scenes. In 1987, with the successes of films such as Jackie Chan's Police Story, John Woo's A Better Tomorrow, or Sammo Hung's Shanghai Express, Hong Kong action standards had reached an extremely high level. Tsui Siu-Ming manages to reach them. And in a way, Mirage is the combination of what Hong Kong filmmakers knew best to do in terms of action, with a scale close to Hollywood blockbuster thanks to its mainland China setting. Tsui Siu-Ming brings this intensity, this science of rhythm and editing which was so sadly lacking in many martial arts films made in mainland China back then, or for that matter, elsewhere in the world. His choreographies are smooth, close to Yuen Woo-ping style but with an added emphasis on impact. A great work, well served by the performers. Yu Guang has never been more impressive than here. His powerful physique is regularly put to the test, and he manages to follow the speed and the technicality of the choreographies. Tsui Siu-Ming himself gives it all. Comparable to a Sammo Hung, its chubby appearance hides a surprising speed and a large martial arts and acrobatic skill set that he used fully. To help them, the action director gathered a small but talented and motivated stunt team, whose most members would later become major action choreographers in their own rights. That's the case of Chow Wing, Jian Lam, Didi or Pakoyik. Even more than the martial art fights, these are the stunts and large-scale battles which are the most impressive in Mirage. Competition was tough back then, each action director trying to outdo his rivals. With able technicians and majestic sets that he can freely destroy, Tsui Siu-Ming has all the tools he needed to sign super impressive stunts. And indeed, he delivers. Multiple explosions which project the stuntmen into the air as if they were ragdolls, Human Torch, painful motorbike falls. Each time we see one, we are fascinated by the courage or madness of the stuntmen, ready to put their life on the line so the shot is the most spectacular possible. In any case, the goal is achieved. Mirage has some of the most impressive stunts cinema has ever proposed. If that was not enough, Siu-Ming also delivers several impressive large-scale battles. His directorial mastery is once again on full display. He manages to handle his crowd of extra for the maximum visual impact, chooses his angle carefully to highlight the scale of the battle, and keeps the intensity high through a tight editing which also managed to keep track of the main protagonist. Solid work there. After that experience, Tsui Siu-Ming came back to Hong Kong and kept working with mainland China. Being banned from Taiwan didn't leave him many other options anyway. He would unofficially direct Jet Li's Born to Defend, and almost managed to recreate the Mirage miracle in his enjoyable Bury Me High. But he mostly directed lackluster action comedies. Gradually, he left a directorial chair for the production side of the industry and came back behind the camera one last time for the 2008 co-production Champions, a film symbolic of what this kind of configuration could do for the better and the worst, and make yourself wonder what happened to the genius filmmaker behind Mirage. Unfortunately, Mirage is well titled. Now almost forgotten, difficult to find, it could be considered an illusion, the product of the feverish mind of an action-craving fanboy. But no, Mirage is not one. Quite the opposite. It is a true oasis of joy for any action cinema enthusiast. And if you are one, you need to see it. Thank you for having watched this video. I hope it has motivated you to discover this forgotten action masterpiece that is Mirage. Don't hesitate to post your questions or observations in the comment section below. I will do another video to answer them.